Hey everyone, and welcome back. And I'm so thrilled to welcome back our good friend and the super talented Claudia Riveros. How are you, Claudia?
I'm awesome. How are you guys? How are you today?
Yeah, fantastic. I'm looking forward to this session. I think this is going to be a really helpful session for a lot of people. So yeah, today you're going to be using some of your own brushes, but you're going to be teaching all kinds of techniques centered around hair, right?
Yeah, so today we're going to be working with Affinity Designer and my set of 25 hair brushes for every hairstyle. I'm going to be working on curly hair, but these tips can be used in any sort of hairstyle that you want to draw. And also, just so you can follow along, I gave a freebie with the brushes that I'll be using today, actually. So you can follow along the whole tutorial. Just
amazing. That sounds great. Thank you so much for the freebies, and a huge thank you for joining us today as well. We always appreciate your time.
My pleasure. It's always fun to be around.
Shall we jump in then without further ado?
Yeah, for sure. Let me just start by sharing my screen here. Here you can see all the practice I was doing for before the event. So like I said before, we're going to be working on drawing hair with Affinity Designer. And for this, the first step is opening Affinity Designer like I just did. And now here in the top right corner, you can just press on the plus sign and create a new document. Here, it doesn't really matter. You don't really have to change anything unless you have a specific dimension that you want your drawing to have. For me, right now, the only thing I care about is the orientation, because I rather work vertically with hair than horizontally, and I'll just press OK. And here we go. Perfect. So the cool thing about Affinity is that you can work both with vector and with pixel. And for my brushes to work, you have to then go to the pixel persona. For that, you're just going to go in the top left corner here, all the small dots. You're just going to press that, and then you're in the pixel persona. So now we're going to start by drawing hair. One of the best tips that I can give you when you're going to draw hair is to stop thinking about it as individual hair strands, but start thinking about it as a group of hair. That are, some areas are going to be closer to you, so they're going to be lighter. Some areas are going to be farther away from you, so they're going to be darker, instead of thinking about individual hairs. So we're going to start by going to the brush, and here we're going to find the brushes that we're going to be working with today, and it's going to be the hair brushes. I'm going to choose the Sketch It Out brush, and I'm going to start by drawing just this wavy line. Wait, I'm going to go again. A wavy line, just to kind of map out the area that our drawing is going to have. Now, another important thing is to try and not make these lines like this. You see, you're going to try and make just one fluent line, and it's probably going to take you a few attempts until you're happy with how it's looking. Oh, wait, it got crazy. There we go. But after some practice, it's just going to come natural. So you have to remember, just a complete swoosh. So after this is done and we have already the area that our drawing is going to have, we're going to go to the layers and we're going to create a new pixel layer. We have that already. So now we're going to go and we're going to start working with the main shapes of the hair. So for this, I'm going to go with the main shapes harsh brush. Here we're going to decide which color of hair we're going to be working with. Today I feel like drawing blonde hair, so I'm going to move it all the way to here. And to start, we're going to choose a neutral color. Now, what do I mean with that? You have a triangle here, right? So we're going to go like around the center of the triangle, a little bit more down. And that's a good neutral color to start with. So with this brush, now again, we're just going to go and create fluent lines just to map out the area that the hair is going to be. Now, in this part, you really don't have to worry about it looking super a lot like hair. Like the brush says it's just the main shapes. So more or less, so you know where your drawing is going to be, kind of. So here, this is already, once you have this, we're going to go again and create another pixel layer. Now we're going to start working with a little bit of a lighter color. So from here, we're going to go down. So with the same brush, we're just going to, in the new layer we just created, we're going to start by creating the areas of hair that are closer to us. So these areas, of course, are going to be hit by more light, so they're going to be lighter. And now with the same movement, we're just going to slowly start to develop some areas that are going to be more in the light, kind of like this.
And how do you know which areas are going to be struck by the light more?
Okay, that's a good question. Can you see me in the small screen in the corner?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take my hair, for instance. If I bend it like this, you can see that the areas that are like on the edges of the
I'll tell you
fold
what, Claudia, bear with me. I'm going to focus on you for a second.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm not going to screw anything up. Here we go. Yeah. So you're front and center. You're big now on the screen.
Perfect. So once you have a hair strand like this, you're gonna go like that, right? So here you can see that this area is darker than this area because this is hit more by the light. So the area that's in the center or the fold is going to be more, it's going to be lighter. So in our drawing, if we can go back to the drawing, I don't know if we're back there.
I will focus back on that.
Yeah, no problem.
There we go.
That's going to be around this area here. So around this area, it's going to be lighter. And you don't have to go and do it all around that area. You can leave like this area, for instance. Oh, just a second. There. You can leave like this sort of shadow that I left here, just to create dimensions. So the idea is to create mountains and valleys of hair, kind of. But in this part, you don't really have to worry too much about it. You're just going to basically make one big line, and then from there, you're going to start making light towards the center of it. You see?
Mm-hmm.
And now, this, I'm going to go with the eraser brush. Make sure that we have the same brush. And I'm going to lower the opacity of it. And I'm going to clean up the edges. So the light is focused more in the center than on the edge of the hair, like I was saying before. So kind of like this. Just clean up the edges a little bit. So for this beginning part, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be super perfect. We're just trying to map out where the shadows are going to be and where the light is going to be. So I'm going to make a little bit more of a shadow here. Yeah, I think this is fine.
Cool. And what brush are you using right now for the shadows?
The same one. It's going to be main shapes, harsh. So for all this part, yeah, we're just going to create the main shapes of the brush, of the hair. So once this is done, we're going to go again to layers, and we're going to create a new pixel layer. And now we're going to go to the colors, and here down here you see recent colors, right? So we're going to choose the first color we chose, and we're going to make it a little bit darker now. Make sure we're on the new layer. Perfect. And now in these areas, that are darker already, we're going to go and we're going to start to map out that this is going to be a dark area, just like this. Same down here. Just a second. Again,
this already has so much better form than so much hair you see beginners drawing. And I think you said at the start, avoid just doing a bunch of lines. That looks terrible. Yeah, exactly. You're building up more of a solid form here, which is great.
Yeah. You have to develop the volumes of it so it feels more realistic. Oh, also, another thing I wanted to say is that this is just my way of drawing hair because I usually draw more realistic. But at the end of the day, you just have to experiment with all the brushes you have and see what you like more, But now that I've done the shadow here, I'm going to go with the eraser tool and I'm going to clean out again here because this is a little bit too harsh on the edges, you see? So here I'm just going to clean it out a little bit just so it blends a little bit more. So wait, I want to add just a little bit more of a shadow here in the edge of it. So yeah, I like this. Once I have that, wait, I'm just gonna, here we go, yeah. Once I have this, I am going to then alternate between the colors that I just chose, kind of to blend these areas out. You see this? Just to blend it a little bit out. So again, I'm gonna make a new pixel layer and I'm gonna go with the first neutral color that we chose and very softly, I actually would like it to be a little bit lighter than it is here. Very softly, I'm just gonna blend it out a little bit. Like this. You don't have to worry too much still.
And
again,
to clarify then, are you blending existing data on other layers, or are you kind of drawing over the top of your current layers to blend it out?
I'm drawing on top of the current layers to kind of blend it
yeah,
out.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah, but you could essentially use the smudge tool, but I kind of feel like you have a little bit more control if you make a new layer and just blend on top of it. You know?
So you're kind of picking like a mid-tone between your highlights and your shadows in order to blend?
Exactly that, exactly that. So I'm gonna go again to the first color I chose, and I'm gonna just go here a little bit, and with the eraser, I'll clean this edge. And all the other edges that I don't like so much, like here. Okay. So I'm gonna make one more layer on top, again a pixel layer, and I'm gonna go with the light color. And now I'm just gonna lower the opacity of it to 20. Yeah. And that I'm gonna go again on top. Just define again these areas that I want to be in the light. So here, for instance, I want more light. Like this.
Again, this makes perfect sense, but I'm so intrigued how you're going to turn this from like, a kind of blended merge of colors to something with more definition that really looks like hair. Because I've tried this kind of thing before and I got stuck like this, and I couldn't take it further. So I'm really going to be paying attention.
Yeah, so that's the cool thing about drawing digitally is you start with this main shape brushes, and then you start building up with more detail brushes, which if you see in my pack, you're gonna see some brushes say main shape at the beginning, then there's like a medium brush between both of them, and then the detail brushes. And it's actually a good segue because we're about to change and start getting into a little bit more detail. So
awesome.
Right now, we're gonna get to use the detail strong brush, and we're gonna go with a new pixel layer. Now I'm gonna be saying a lot to make a new pixel layer because the cool thing about drawing digitally is that you don't have to marry any of the lines that you make, so there's not so much pressure. You can mess up and then eventually you can return to the layer, delete the layer, or fix that layer. So I always like to make layers on top of layers to make sure that I have enough room to fix my drawing later on. So I said now to pick the detail strong brush, we're gonna go with the dark color we chose, and we're gonna go with a little bit more of a darker tone. There we go. I would like the opacity of my brush to be around 40. New layer, perfect. Oh, I actually changed the opacity of the eraser. Here we go, to 40. And now with this brush, we're gonna start a little bit more, and we're gonna start making more definition in the dark areas. So here, for instance. And now the idea is to vary the pressure of the brush you're making. So it's not gonna be all the time like this, but soft, and then you go a little bit stronger.
Yeah, so it's got quite high pressure sensitivity.
Yeah, it's pretty good with that. So here we go. Just cleaning it up a little bit.
By the way, Claudia, on a personal note, I've talked to Jimbo, I've talked to Max. I hope everyone's doing okay because we heard about the earthquake.
Yeah, a little bit. I live in Opatia, so I could barely feel the earthquake, but it hit them really hard. So they're good, everything is fine, but I was also very concerned about them.
Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I'm gonna go with the smudge tool, and I'm gonna kind of smudge this edges out a little bit. The smudge tool I have with the same brush that I was using, so the detail brush. I'm just gonna clean out, make it look a little bit less like a bunch of lines, a little bit more like.
Is it possible to show your cursor as you're working? Because otherwise, for the detail, it can be kind of hard to see.
Yeah, I don't think so. I tried, but I don't think it is possible. But,
okay, don't worry. Yeah, no, it's helpful just having you walk us or talk us through rather which piece you're working on.
Yeah, for sure. I'll make like a circle then on top of it. So I'm gonna go now with a with a lighter brush, with a lighter color, sorry, and again with the paint brush. And I'm gonna make one more layer on top, a pixel layer, and I'm gonna start by defining this area here first and here, because this is a lighter color, so I just want to create a little bit more of this light. And also one thing, notice that I don't do like this, so line next to line like that. I leave a little bit of space in between the lines that I do. And this helps create a little bit more of a 3D effect because there's hair that is behind it, right? So here, I like this one that goes in front. So I'm gonna carry it to the top like this. And I'm gonna continue with all the light areas that I was working before. So just working in the light areas. Just a second, here we go. Kind of like this, perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna take the smudge tool and we're gonna smudge this here, so the edges of the lines, right? So with the smudge tool, I'm just gonna go, just smudge out. I like to smudge it upwards because if you smudge it down, it sometimes makes it look a little bit dirty. But when you smudge it to the side that it's supposed to go, then it looks more like hair in a way. But again, this is like, you're gonna have to see what you like more. I was just practicing before this the event. So this is what I developed in Affinity. So just smudge it out like this, the edges.
This almost feels like traditional painting, where a lot of the original paint gets covered up, but it all kind of helps build up that depth slowly.
Yeah, exactly like that. That's a super good analogy because what we did before is like the base painting, and this like helps you understand that this area that you made in the shadow is in the shadow from the beginning. So you don't start thinking about individual hairs that are in the front or in the back, but more as okay, this is a shadow area and this is a light area. So it helps a lot when you're doing digital painting to think about it as is traditional painting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Once I've done this, I'm gonna go again. That's the thing, you have to go between the colors more than once, kind of define the areas that you like. So here I'm gonna go again with the dark color that I chose in a new layer, in a new pixel layer. And actually I wanna make it a little bit darker. And I'm just gonna smudge. I'm just gonna make a little bit more of this darkness in the like borders of the hair of my drawings, per se, like this.
Can we do lettering as well on Affinity Designer? Is there a streamline option for Apple Pencil there? Do you know?
Well, I guess you could do lettering in Affinity Designer, but I honestly am not 100% sure. I usually work more in Procreate, so I don't really.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe you can, and I'm pretty sure there is a kind of streamline type option, right?
There should be, yeah, but I don't really know.
Cool.
I don't want to interrupt you, but right now I'm just smudging out the same as I've been doing, just like creating shadows or lights and just smudging that out a little bit. And now here, this layer, I'm gonna lower the opacity to. So to do that, we're gonna go to the menu layer, and here there's like 3 dots. Click the 3 dots and just lower the opacity a little bit. There we go.
That's looking much more hair-like now, Claudia.
Yeah, it's gonna start looking more and more like hair as the more we go. So, so now, if there's not any questions, I'm gonna start moving to more detail. And I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna go then to more details now. Now that we've built some sort of base for where the lights and the shadows are, I'm gonna create a new layer, a pixel layer, and I'm gonna go to my brushes. And for this, I'm gonna select now my detail highlight brush. You know what? I'm actually, I'm gonna have to pull back a little bit. I have my notes here and I actually have to do something. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I said I'm gonna go with the detail highlight. We're gonna actually go again with the detail strong brush. And we're gonna now start working with more of a saturated color, more of a saturated version of the color that we're doing. So a little bit closer to this point here. So I would say somewhere around here is okay. Made a new layer and I have my detail strong brush. I'm gonna go with this. And now with this new color, we're gonna go in these areas in where you can see that a light area and a shadow area are meeting. So here, we're just gonna start by adding a little bit more vibrancy to our drawing, kind of like this. So like this. Now here again. Here, I wanna create a little bit more light. In this shadow area that I made, it's a little bit too monotone, so I'm gonna lower the opacity of my brush to somewhere around 17. I'm just gonna make one big line that goes here, like here. I'm gonna go back again to the opacity I had before, and I'm gonna work on the other side. So like here, here. You're here with me, right?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, looks great.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be asking a lot. I just because when I share the screen, it's full screen, so I can't really see if you guys are there. So I just want to make sure.
Don't worry, you're not talking to yourself.
Yeah, for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So here we go. There we go. Now that we created this, we're gonna go to this layer, and again, we're gonna go to the 3 dots and lower the opacity of this. The idea of this is just to try and add a little bit more color, vibrancy to your drawing. We're gonna make one more layer, one more pixel layer, and we're gonna go with a darker version of this saturated color, so a little bit more towards the other side. And you can even pull this a little bit up. Now we're in a new layer, still with the detail strong brush. We're gonna do the same that we just did, but more towards the shadows. So just a little bit of this. Here we go. So here in the shadows, kind of. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So now that this is done, I just want to actually add a little bit more here. Now that this is done, we're going to do the same we did before. We're going to lower the opacity of this saturated layer. I would say somewhere around 60% is good, maybe 50. 58 is fine. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to start moving to the different brush. So now we're going to get new pixel layer. We have it. We're going to go to the brushes, and we're going to go to the last one that I have here. It's detail highlight. And with this brush now, we're going to start by working with, so having the saturated color that we just chose, we're going to go more towards the white side, somewhere around here. Not completely, not in the center, and not completely to the white, but we're slowly going to start moving towards more of a white color.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In a quite a subtle way, though.
Yeah. Everything, it's like, I approach this as it would be like it's digital painting, right? So you have to feel like it's oil painting in a way. So you start building up, and then, slowly but surely you start bringing in those colors and the textures and stuff. Now, with this color, we're going to go, wait, the opacity is too low. Here we go. And this color, we're going to go in the center. And you see that this brush feels more like hair already, because it's more of a high detail brush. Like this.
And this is from the same pack, isn't it, Claudia?
Yeah. So with one pack, you can develop from the beginning the main shapes to more of a detailed version. And some people like to just use to 2-3 brushes, I like to use a lot so that I can really bring, you know, this more of a paint feeling to it. I don't know. So, yeah. With this brush and this color, we're gonna go more where the light is. So more towards where you make the light areas. You know, so here, in this light area here, around here now. I want to bring a little bit more light here. So I'm gonna make a little bit, very subtle, very softly. Notice that I don't go like super strong like this, right? I go very, very softly, just to start and bring more of like a real hair feeling instead of just a bunch of lines. Here we go. The other side also, here. So once we did this, now we're gonna still use the same brush, but we're gonna make, again, a new pixel layer. And we're gonna now go with the recent colors you see down here. You pick the darkest one, make sure you have detail highlight, and you're in a new layer. And now with this brush, we're gonna go over, actually, let's make it a little bit darker than that. And we're gonna go over the shadows. So just to create a little bit more definition. The thing is, if you don't have this, all these areas mapped out, when you get to this step, it just looks like I would be drawing here. You see, it looks not, just looks like a bunch of lines instead of a body that has like volume and it goes, you know, front and back and all that. Yeah. So slowly. All right. Now this darker color we're gonna put here in the edges and in every area where you see that you made a little bit more of a darker tone.
Do you ever flatten the layers?
At the end, but honestly, I like to keep, I usually keep 2 files of my drawings. The first one is a file where you have all the layers if I ever want to change anything. A second file is just all the layers merged together. And another thing is, if I can't continue making layers, then I'll merge some of the layers that I know that, like for instance, this first layers here, down here, this 3 first or the first 5, I know that those ones are not really going to change much now at this point. They're more so that I can understand where the things will be located in the future. You know, it's like a few extra steps, but it's easier, especially if you're a beginner, to understand where the light and the shadows go. If you tackle it more as, okay, this is where the light goes and this is where the shadow goes, kind of. So, for instance, if I turn off one of these layers, it doesn't really change much of the drawing right now, but it really definitely helps me understand that here there's some light, you know. So if I would merge this ones here, it really doesn't, it doesn't affect so much. But yeah, so after you're done with this, we're gonna create one more layer. We're almost done here. And I would like to go to a lighter version of the light color we chose. So closer to the white with detail highlight brush and with the paintbrush in a new layer, perfect. And we're gonna, again, just keep on building the light in this area here, for instance. So just build it up a little bit more.
Glossy.
Yeah, shiny, Pantene.
I have a question, actually. How do you know at what point can you overdo it? Because you can keep accentuating the highlights and the shadows, but presumably at some point it goes too far. Yeah,
absolutely. I feel like this only comes with practicing and knowing what is that you want to achieve. So understanding the style that you want to achieve. For instance, in this hair, I would like it to be a little bit realistic. I mean, not hyper realistic, but realistic looking. And once you start practicing, I would say that to a trained eye, you see the areas where you can improve. The problem comes when you it's hard to stop, but it also comes with the practice, right? You definitely understand that after a certain point, you stop. I usually stand up and go to a different drawing, to a different painting, do something different, go cook, and then return. And if I'm still happy with it, then I know it's done,
Yeah, perfect. How many layers do you end up with?
Like right now we're having 13, but I think we're gonna
Lucky
end
for
up
some.
around 15. Yeah, oops. Right now I think we're gonna end up with around 15. We're pretty close to be done. I just want to add a little bit more of this light.
This looks to me like the world's most voluminous ponytail.
Exactly.
I can imagine this coming out the back of someone's head.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, if you're making a drawing in which the hair is not the main aspect of it, then probably you shouldn't take so long to draw it. But since we're focused especially on hair, then it just ends up looking like really glossy and made. So, yeah. Wait, I'm gonna hear.
Is there a limit to how many layers you can have? Because I know Procreate often you can get limited. Is it the same in Affinity for iPads? Have you run into that problem?
It depends. Not yet, but I think it depends on the size of the canvas you have. That's also how it works in Procreate. If you have a screen size canvas, I think you can have up to 200, 300 layers, if I'm not mistaken. But if you do like a huge canvas, then you end up having like 5-layer stuffs. So yeah. But at the end of the day, I've run to that problem in Procreate. What I just do is, like I said, I merge the initial layers so that I have more space, and I know that I'm not really going to lose anything. They were there just to give me an understanding where the light goes and the shadow goes.
Right.
So yeah, talking again about layers, we're going to make almost our last layer. And now we're going to go even closer to the white color. And now it's just like very, very small in the areas that are more in the light. So just a little bit. Here we go.
Yeah, so you're not doing such tall extending marks. You're doing kind of these shorter little marks just to get the real kind of, the most intense point of the highlight.
Yeah, very, very small. And now we are at our last layer. So we are now going to start making long strands of hair. So when you look at hair, you don't just see a blob of something perfect there. You see a little bit of a mess, right? So right now, I'm going to go with the long strand detail hair brush. And with this, I'm going to go my colors, and I'm going to go to a darker color that we've picked so far. Yeah, am I on a new layer? Not sure. There we go. Here we go. Now with this, we're just gonna go, this is a little bit, just a second. A little bit too high in opacity. So I'm gonna lower the opacity a little bit and a little bit the size and on the edges of it. Just to create extra hairs that are coming out, you see?
Yep.
So just kind of like this. And I would also like to throw out one in the center, in the darker area here, just to define that a little bit. There we go. And now you're gonna lower the size of the brush to almost like 30, I would say. Let's see. Yeah, that's maybe a little bit bigger and more opacity. And now you're just gonna start making hairs that go, I don't know if you can see. You see, I've made like a line that goes on top of everything, kind of. And I just create a little bit more loose, crazy hairs. So this just adds to the realism of it. Kind of like this. I'm just gonna go over it. This part, don't think it too much, just make a bunch of crazy hairs basically. And we're gonna go with the lightest color that we've done. And again, on top of everything, just gonna make a little more opacity, a little bit smaller. Just gonna make brushes here on top of the hair. And I like how this one's looking, so I'm gonna leave it here. So this is how you can draw hair using Affinity. Just
amazing.
build it up until, I mean, you can continue playing with it, to be honest. You can continue just having fun, put some music on and just have fun drawing hair. But for now, I think this is good. We can also check out all of these ones that I've done using the same sort of technique.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's basically the same. If we go to the layers again, and I start turning off layers, you're going to see that I, again, build everything up just from this blob. See? So we go with light, a little bit darker, highlights, dark, like saturated colors, then more detail, more light. So yeah, I think this is my favorite one that I did for the presentation. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. I really like adding extra hairs that go all over, like in the front. And
I think that adds so much, to be honest. It really does. That's like some of the greatest realism.
Yeah, it feels way more like it's real. It's not just a blob of paint.
Someone's been a bit aggressive with the hair gel if there's no stray hairs.
Yeah, exactly. Also, you can see a brunette version of it, a little bit more of a reddish hair actually. Yeah.
Incredible. And I know as well, like I've seen some of the imagery behind this, we're getting a little bit of pixelation because we're live streaming right now. But if you guys if you check it out in the learn section after this, you'll get to see like the super crisp imagery, and it's even more impressive. You get to see like every little detail.
Yeah, there's one thing about Affinity though. I think you kind of have to love the look that it's a little bit more pixelated. I honestly don't have any problem with it. I just think that you can see where it was made. So usually in Affinity, you're gonna see a little bit more pixel than you would see in Procreate, but I don't know, it's all about styles, I wouldn't worry too much about making it crisp perfect, because at the end of the day, it's not really a photo, and I feel like the idea of drawing is just having a good time and not obsessing over like small details. So you're gonna for sure see. I would recommend to be prepared to find some pixelation. Maybe now in the stream we're gonna see more because we're streaming, but no,
it's gone super sharp now. It's just occasionally live streaming it goes a bit fuzzy, but yeah, the details look beautiful. We got a final question actually, which would be great if you could maybe demonstrate this, Claudia, please.
Perfect.
Is there a way to change the color of the whole piece of hair without losing detail and shading, etc.? So I guess if you took the blonde hair and you wanted to change it to a different color, could you do that easily?
To be 100% honest with you, I don't know so much here in Affinity because I don't usually work in Affinity, but in Procreate I do know how to do it. But I mean,
would there be like a hue saturation equivalent adjustment there?
It would have to be like a hue saturation layer, which I'm sure that you can have somewhere around here. Maybe here you can have, let's see, select.
And like the curves and so on as well.
Yeah, and the curves, but
I'm still getting to figure out Affinity a little bit as well. But I think definitely there you go, some nice red hair for you, David.
There we go. So if you go to this small 3 dots under FX under the function here, and you find it was recolor. Here, of course, you would have to lower the saturation of it because it's a little bit too much. But here you can just choose the hue. So I guess if you want it to be green, maybe a little bit.
Everyone wants green hair.
There we go. So let's make it green.
Why not? Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Claudia. Yeah, well, that fits your current aesthetic in your studio.
Exactly.
Everything's blue. Let's give it up for Claudia. That was
thank you guys.
That was great. I will talk to you soon, my friend, but thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, guys. It was so much fun.
See you soon. Bye.
See you guys. Ciao.